Democracy is taken from a Greek word, demokratia, or Latin word demokratia. In Greek, demos means people and kratia means rules. Democracy means rule of people. Democracy is a form of government of the people, for the people, by the people. Abraham Lincoln. In a democracy, rulers elected by the people take all the main decisions, and there is none above them to direct or guide. In a democracy, elections are held regularly on the basis of universal adult franchise. These elections offer a fair opportunity to the people to change their present rulers. In democratic countries, the people enjoy the freedom of speech. They are free to criticize the government. In a democratic country, there are free and fair elections, and the people are allowed to vote for any candidate of their choice. In democratic countries, there is freedom of the press. They can appreciate or criticize the government as they like. In non-democratic countries, the people are not allowed to criticize the government. Doing so means imprisonment, harassment, and trouble one after the other. In non-democratic countries, the rule of the king or the so-called military rule prevails, and the questions of elections does not arise. Democracy is better than any other form of governments because it presents to the needs of the people. It does not depend on the whims of the ruler or the dictator. It is an accountable form of government. Democracy provides peaceful solution to every problem. It provides the best method of dealing with differences and conflicts. Democracy is based on political equality, which ensures equal rights both for the rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated. Thus, in a way, democracy enhances the dignity of every citizen. In order to fund their elections, the leaders once elected begin to amass wealth for the next election. So such a practice leads to corruption. In a democracy, it takes a long time to get a law passed by the legislature. All this leads to delays. Some people argue that democracy is the rule of the majority, which means the rule of the ignorant people. In order to win elections, the different political leaders make false promises and cheat the people. Thus, there is no scope for morality in democracy. Dictatorship, in it all the powers are in the hands of a single individual or a small group of individuals, and the dictator is not answerable to anybody. Democracy, it is a form of government in which the ruling power is vested in the hands of the people, and the government is answerable to the people who can change it through constitutional means. Communist state. A state run by the Communist Party without allowing other parties to fight elections. Coalition. A combination of parties to share power in the government. Political prisoners. Prisoners held in prison or detained for opposing the government. Dictator. Head of the state who arbitrarily rules the country. Constitution, rules of laws according to which the government of the state runs. Only those who are members of the Chinese Communist Party or 8 smaller parties allied to it were allowed to contest elections held in 2002-03. The government is always formed by the Communist Party. In democracy, there is space for public discussion on governments or rulers' mistakes, and there is a room for correction. Either the rulers have to change their decisions, or the rulers can be changed. Democracy is based on the principle of political equality, on recognizing that the poorest and the least educated has the same status as the rich and the educated. Modern democracies involve such a large number of people that it is physically impossible for them to sit together and take a collective decision. PRI managed to win elections in Mexico every 6 years because the party members used many unfair means to win elections. The party spent a large sum of money in the campaign for its candidates and forced people to vote for them. Zimbabwe is a republic with a presidential system of government. But now the country is effectively authoritarian dictatorship under President Robert Mugabe, who has re-elected in 2013 at the age of 89 for another 5 years. President Mugabe has changed the constitution several times to increase the powers of the president and make him less accountable. Public protests and demonstrations against the government are declared illegal. There is a law that limits the right to criticize the president. In August 2002, Musharraf issued a legal framework order that amended the Constitution of Pakistan. In this order, the president can dismiss the national and provincial assemblies. After passing this law, elections were held to the national and state assemblies. So the elections were held regularly and power rests with elected representatives. But still the final power rests with military officers and Musharraf himself. Democratic country. Each adult citizen has a right to vote. Each vote has one value. Free and fair elections are held. Non-democratic country. Elections do not offer a choice and fair opportunity. Rulers are not elected by the people. The rulers have unlimited power. Democracy is better than other forms of government because it allows us to correct its own mistakes. There is no guarantee that mistakes cannot be made in democracy. No other form of government can guarantee that. The advantage in a democracy is that such mistakes cannot be hidden for long. There is a space for public discussion on these mistakes. And there is a room for correction. Either the rulers have to change their decisions, or the rulers can be changed. This cannot happen in a non-democratic government. Arguments in favor of democracy. A democratic government is a more accountable form of government. A democracy requires that the rulers have to attend to the needs of the people. Democracy is based on negotiation and deliberation, which improves the quality of decision-making. It allows us to correct our own mistakes. In democracy, there is always a scope that the rulers can change their wrong decisions or the rulers themselves can be changed. China is not a democratic country in the true spirit. For contesting the election to the Chinese parliament, the candidates need the approval of the Chinese Communist Party. Only the members of Communist Party and its 8 allies are allowed to contest the election. There is one party rule, i.e., Communist Party in China, which is not the indication of a true democracy. Therefore, China cannot be said to be a true democracy. Some demerits of democracy are leaders keep changing in a democracy. It leads to instability. Democracy is all about political competition and power play. Here political parties try to win elections spreading caste feelings, communalism, practicing immoral methods, etc. So many people have to be consulted in a democracy that it leads to delays. Involving people in the decision-making does lead to delay, which is not desirable for the nation. Features of democracy as a form of government. The features of democracy are: democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. A democracy must be based on a free and fair election, where those currently in power have a fair chance of losing. In a democracy, each adult citizen must have one vote, and each vote must have one value. In a democracy, government rules within limits set by constitutional law and citizens' rights. 3 difficulties faced by the people in a non-democratic country are: in a non-democratic country, all the people are at the mercy of the dictator or the military rulers. They may or may not respond to the people's need. In non-democratic countries, the people are not allowed to criticize the government. By doing this, people may face imprisonment, harassment, etc. In a non-democratic country, no opposition is tolerated, so the question of opposition party or trade unions does not arise. Democracy improves the quality of decision-making. Democracy is based on consultation and discussion. A democratic decision always involves many persons, discussions, and meetings. Those who are not powerful have the same say in taking the decisions as those who are powerful. When many people put their heads together, they are able to point out possible mistakes or drawbacks in any decision. It takes time, but important decisions should be taken after proper discussion. This process may be time-consuming, but it reduces the chances of rash or irresponsible decisions. Thus, the lengthy process of taking decisions on any important issue in democracy improves the quality of the decision. The common difficulties faced by the people in a non-democratic country are: people cannot choose or change their ruler. People cannot question the authority of the ruler or dictator. People do not enjoy any rights. Supporters of democracy are tortured or killed. For example, in Chile more than 3,000 people were killed by military. In a non-democratic country, public protests and demonstration against the government are declared illegal. Sometimes political activists are imprisoned for indefinite time. For example, Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar spent a long time in under house arrest. In a non-democratic country, people do not have political equality. Universal adult franchise is denied sometimes. In a non-democratic country, people may have elected their representatives, but in reality they are not really the rulers. The power of taking final decision rests with army officials. For example, in Pakistan, the real power is enjoyed by the army. Shortcomings of democracy are: in the democratic form of government, leaders keep on changing, which leads to instability. There is political competition and power play everywhere. This situation hardly follows any rules of morality. Elected leaders are unable to contact a large number of people and can hardly guess about the real problems of the people, which results in wrong decisions, delay of work, etc. A large number of people are illiterate. They do not know what is good for them, so they cannot decide anything properly. Democracy leads to corruption, for it is based on electoral competition. To win the election, the political parties adopt their own policies and try to win election by hook or by crook.